Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. Hold on. Sorry. Welcome to my channel. My name is Emmie from Emmie Evolving. If this is your first time watching me, thank you for finding me. If this is not your first time, thank you for coming back. So right now, I'm going to be doing a Claire Tarot reading for the collective whole. This is a general reading, kind of giving us an idea of what this reading is about. I asked the collective energy, what are we going to talk about? And I was told, deeply feeling the mirror before you. So quite a few of us are experiencing a lot of emotional type of intense challenges, something deep within. And, it could potentially be just some thoughts that you're really struggling through, like thinking about things that have happened in the past, struggles that you've had. It could be issues with how you're seeing people right now. I don't know how to explain this. Basically, what I'm being given is that we have a lot of internal things that we're seeing externally at this point. We have a lot of people being presented before us, probably online. For some of us, it'll be in real life, where we're being rubbed really, really wrong because of how we're receiving their behaviors and their communications. And is it really that individual that's an issue, or are they really just mirroring something that's projected from internal, something that's projected outwards? So let's see. Hold on. Let me pull some cards. Yep. So I was noticing yesterday, actually, I was told to go live last night, but I was just like, you know what? I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep. I'm not going live. I'm going to sleep. But it was the same message last night. I figured it might have changed by the time I went live today, but it's still the same message, where we're allowing ourselves to be triggered by something externally, failing to realize it is an internal circumstance that's being mirrored back at us, things we don't want to see about ourselves. Hold on. And let's do final deck. Oops. Final deck. Okay. All right. Card number 42, the word wants to be written. With a greater level of dimensional consciousness coming back to us, with our frequency rising and us being able to reach higher levels of understanding, we have to really take a good hard look at what it is we're thinking and why. Why are we feeling this way? Is it because of our thoughts? Is it because of our thoughts regarding the way other people are behaving? What is upsetting us so much about their behavior? Now, there's a communication needing to take place. There really, really is, because here the throat chakra is activating. That means the things that are needing to be said need to actually be said at this point. You can't mince words. Does that mean you have to be mean? Does that mean you have to be verbally abusive, verbally aggressive? No, you just have to communicate. And if the other person doesn't want to hear, you can't really force someone else to hear something either they don't want to hear or they're not capable of understanding. Okay. You still have to have the courage to go ahead and speak your mind, though. Thank you, Tania. You still have to have the courage to speak your mind. And again, speaking your mind is about speaking your needs, not about letting someone know how much of a failure they are, how they're doing this wrong, they're doing that wrong, they're failing to meet your expectations. That's not communication that is beneficial. I mean, unless you're their employer, at which point, yeah, you have, if you're being paid to do a specific set of tasks, then that's what you're being compensated for, so that's what you need to do. But if it's something, it's a personal connection, um people don't really have to meet your expectation. They really, really don't. They don't have to live the way you want them to live, just like you don't have to live the way they want you to live. You guys don't have to see eye to eye, but you do have to have the courage to set healthy boundaries and enforce them. Okay. And that's what this is. All of these rings are boundaries. Okay. Um, so card number 38, abundance. Abundance is more than just money. Abundance is understanding that you're being taken care of on so many different levels. You're receiving the support you need. You're receiving the understanding. You're receiving camaraderie. Oftentimes when people get so fixated on just one aspect of abundance, meaning money, that tends to block the rest of your abundance. If all you're focused on is money, 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 yeah, you'll fail to see all the ways in which other people are trying to be supportive of you, are trying to show you love, give you love, support you in such a difficult time of processing that inner darkness. Most of us are going through a period of dark night of the soul at this point, where your entire life, your existence as you know it, is crumbling away, is being basically forced to be seen, felt, heard by your higher self. And your higher self is bringing you the circumstance that you need to understand these things that you're going through. But if you're so fixated on the material, the material aspects of this world, if you find yourself in an argument constantly talking about mine, 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 well, then you're not yet at a place where you can understand what's really going on. Someone else isn't hurting you. Someone else isn't forcing you to go through hardship. You are forcing yourself to experience an elevated uh, life circumstance that will really, really, really force you to see your life. Okay. And, for some of us, despite the fact that what we're witnessing is our life, we're going to go ahead and say someone else, someone's doing this to me. This person is, that person is, that person is, that person is. And really, could it really be everyone doing this to you? Is really everyone being harmful to you and you're very innocent and you don't do anything wrong and everyone's just being mean? Um, I find that it's very rare, very, very rare. And when I say very rare, I think what I really mean is impossible. Impossible for everyone to be wrong and you are being victimized. Okay. And I'm not saying that as someone who feels like a victim, that you should be ashamed. I'm saying you need to look deeper and maybe recognize there's a high potential that what's going on is a projection of an internal circumstance. Maybe these people that are being so mean to you are the people who are reflecting back. They were called to you by your higher self, and they're reflecting back this internal circumstance of self hatred, self sabotage. And I'm not saying that if someone's hurtful to you, that it's fine. It's because that, you're learning something. No, it's not fine. But you have to look beyond what's actually going on and see the root causation. Where is this rooted? If all of your relationships, all your connections with other people end this way, where you feel like you've been done wrong, everyone's doing you dirty, you don't understand why. It might be something internal. And I'm saying this as someone who used to feel this way, where it's like, damn, I'm a good person. All I want to do is help people. And people just keep being real hurtful, real malicious, using me. Well, when I finally stopped and really took a good hard look at the cycles that I kept continuing with other people, I would initiate that. I would initiate that by constantly overgiving and constantly going out of my way to get them accustomed to my presence, meaning over giving, over supporting, over loving. And yes, there is such a thing as over loving. It's an unhealthy love where your feelings for someone else helps to enable their toxicity. Okay, there is such a thing as that. It's not real love. It's an unhealthy, imbalanced, martyrdom kind of love. And so we have to recognize the things that we are doing. Okay. We're not excusing other people's behavior. We're trying to understand why these same types of behavioral patterns keep coming back to us. Why do we keep experiencing this? All right. This is no longer about blaming you or trying to excuse your behavior. This is about understanding. Okay. Card number 33, love the darkness. These are aspects of our shadow self rising up. And if you're going to allow yourself to continue to be afraid to the point of crippling, afraid of who you are, what you are experiencing, really taking a good hard look at how you've been co-creating all of these difficult things you've experienced in life, it's not going to serve you. You can keep doing that if you want. You really can. You can keep doing that if you want, but it's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve you. And here's the thing. If you find that your patterns of hurt and struggle have a lot to do with, this is other people's problem. This is other people's drama, their argument. And why do I keep getting sucked in? Well, because you keep leaving yourself available. It's very simple. You keep leaving yourself available because there's a part of you that's somehow resonating with what's going on. Okay. There's a part of you that is being triggered because there's that aspect that still needs your attention. So you don't have to actually participate in someone else's drama or struggle, but you do have to recognize, okay, this is triggering me for what reason? What is it within me that's needing more of my attention? And if you can figure that out, perfect, perfect. You can just quietly begin to not be available. Okay. Just quietly be not available. If you see that you constantly being available, constantly meeting up for coffee so they can dump all of this emotional toxicity on you, you constantly responding to text messages, constantly answering phone calls. If you know that that's all they want to do is dump more toxicity on you, and you continue to answer because you don't want to be mean, because you don't want to abandon them, you don't want to, all of these things that empaths have a tendency to convince themselves is wrong because it honors our needs before someone else's. That's the very thing that's going to continue to keep you hooked into a cycle of toxicity and disharmony. Okay. So, leadership. You don't need to lead anyone else. As a matter of fact, you're not leading anyone else. You're leading yourself. With the laws of sovereignty, you have to allow other people to lead themselves. They can choose to follow you or they can choose to create their own path, but you don't get a say in that. You can do whatever you can or want to inspire them, to encourage them, to support them. But at the end of the day, the only one that gets a say in what they're going to do is themselves. Okay. You can have all of the good intentions in the world, but when you are attempting to control the trajectory of someone else's life, you are wrong unless you are the parent. And even then, after a certain point, the parent has to allow the child to be free to experience life. You don't get a say. All right. You can say all you want, but that doesn't mean they have to listen. And especially when it's from one adult to another, no, you do not get to control someone else's life. Like me personally, as much as I would love to be able to support and encourage and empower and help certain people to get really centered and really healthy so they can, make um, really, really sound decisions with their life and their money and all of that. The moment you say, no, I don't want that. Well, okay, the offer was there. That's it. That's it. I'm not going to try and convince you. I'm not going to try and like, well, you're wrong. You're sick. Well, I know you're sick in the head right now. I know that there's issues that's causing really serious mental instability, but I also know when there's mental health issues, it's everyone else. Everyone else is the problem. Why is everyone telling me what to do? Why is everyone this? Because everyone else can see you're spiraling. But if you don't want to see it, I have to respect that. If you're not at a point in your journey where you can't see the truth, well, let me take that back. You can see the truth, but you choose not to see the truth. I have to respect that. I have to respect that. It doesn't matter if you're my husband, you're my sibling, you're my grown child. You have your own path, regardless of how much I can see, regardless of how good my intuition is. I have to, as a sovereign, respect your sovereignty. And so I will just quietly back away. The offer's there, and you know when you can take it, you know when you want to take it, and when you don't. And so I'll just leave that be. But does that mean I'm going to continue to allow myself to be available so you could like vomit all the ugly on me? No, I don't like vomit. I don't like vomit. So let me go ahead and go back to my regular existence. And if at some point people who you're having this type of interaction with want the help, want whatever help you were offering, beautiful. But if that never comes to be, beautiful too, because you've honored their sovereignty. That's one of the most beautiful, loving acts you could ever have or do for someone else, where you don't try and save them from themselves. And people might be like, well, that's fucked up. If it's mental health issues, well, unless you're their soul and you know exactly what this um, crash and burn is supposed to do for them, you shouldn't be tampering with that. You really shouldn't be interfering with someone else's spiritual process of awakening, spiritual process of self-awareness, self-realization. And that's what it is. That's what it is. I've gotten to a point where I recognize the things that people go through. It's not karmic debt being repaid. It's not just um, a total inability of making solid life choices. This transcends this human existence. You are here learning something very, very profound as a soul through a human experience. And when other people try and interfere with that, it tends to not end well. It tends to cycle back around and affect everyone else even worse. So you have to just get on your path and stay there. Card number 8, the path. Some people's paths will follow along with yours, okay? Just because it heads to the same place doesn't mean they'll experience the same details. Some people's paths are smooth and they're going to the same place, heading in the same direction. But the person whose path is parallel to theirs has a lot of potholes, has a lot of, I don't know, gravel and things that, a lot of mud, a lot of obstacles that make it much more difficult for them to go down that path. But keep in mind, this is a very important thing. All of us are calibrated before we enter into this life, perfectly calibrated to handle every single circumstance that this life is potentially going to bring us. So if your path is a lot smoother, your soul probably decided to utilize a vehicle that functions rather well on city streets. Now, the person that's parallel, whose path is parallel to yours, um, if their path is that difficult, pretty sure their soul is utilizing an all-terrain vehicle with all-terrain tires, 4x4, all-wheel drive, whatever the hell's extra perks, a winch, all kind of stuff. Have some faith in their soul. Have some faith in their ability to transcend their circumstance. I found that people if you're the one that is struggling to accept another person's path, I have really, really found over and over and over again, people will only rise to as high as others expect them to go. So if you're trying to help someone, um, and you expect them to only get to ankle level, that's all they'll rise to. That's all. That's all. Now, if you expect them to rise right along with you, and you recognize, okay, they're struggling right now, but they'll catch up. They'll rise too. They'll rise too. That was a plan. That was always a plan. We're always going to rise together. Then eventually, once they get their head out of their ass, they will rise too. But you have to give them the freedom to be able to do that. And while you're giving them the freedom to be able to do that, you have to be able to see there is something about their circumstance that is a reflection of your internal feelings about yourself, your internal thoughts. And that's what this message really is. Everything that's projected outside of you, you will experience as someone else. You'll experience it as someone else is hurting me, someone else is disappointing me. But really, is it someone else? Or are these things within yourself that you are really, really needing to observe, not analyze and tear yourself apart and condemn yourself? No, just observe. Like, what is it that I'm really doing? What is it that I'm really doing? So, card number 13, liberation, free yourself. Free yourself from that fake integrity. Okay. A lot of us have this false sense of purity and elevated um, consciousness, and really, for many of us that have that sense of I'm more elevated, I know more, I can see more, I understand more. Um, that's an imbalanced ego that's been spray painted white and given faux feathers so that you have the impression that it's angelic. I mean, look at that. And there's many people that are behaving this way at this point, where um, because I understand, the four agreements. I totally am so advanced, and I know better, so I need to tell other people. I have to awaken everyone else because I'm a star seed light warrior, um galactic fetter. I don't know all these terms. I'm just like, y'all, I only resonate with one label. That's stay at home mom. Y'all be whatever you want to be. I'm a stay at home mom. But you have to free yourself from this, okay? It's not an empowering thing. All the labels, all the fixation on other people and trying to save people from themselves, and it it's a false light. It's a false light. Okay? If you want to further embrace the godhead within you, that spark of that god essence, that true, very pure power. If God is all powerful, which I believe it is, um why doesn't God control everything here on earth? Why is there suffering? Why is there war? Why is there um starvation, abuse, all kind of ugly things, right? Because God in all its power has given freedom to expand, to explore. And I mean, if you can't give people the freedom to expand in the way they choose, including yourself, if you can't give people the freedom to elevate at their own timeline, including yourself, that's not very godly. That's a false spirituality where you think everyone should be at the level you're at, or you think you should be at the level someone else is at. That's comparison. That's competition. That's not co creation. God is so powerful that it decided to co create with the shards of consciousness that came from its thought forms. So, if you really want to be godlike, If you really, really want to be elevated in your evolution, in your consciousness expansion, in your self realization, you have to give people the freedom to be who they are, as they are, where they are. And if it's not in alignment with you, you can continue loving them from afar. You don't have to be there. You don't have to coach anyone. What you have to do is recognize why you're being triggered by their existence, by their path. Because if you're being triggered, it's trying to show you something. Okay? It's trying to show you something. So, card number 5, conscious connections. Again, if you're trying to connect with someone else, whether it be a romantic thing, a platonic thing, a familial thing, a professional thing, if your connection is heart based and theirs is not, is that really a connection? Is it really a connection? If they're just focused on the other fish and they're kind of just like, you know, nonchalant about their path, and you're over here, you're trying to create a heart connection, you're trying to address sacral, solar, and root type of things, you're not even looking in the same direction. So maybe it's time to allow a separation to occur. Like, not stopping loving each other and encouraging each other and um hoping the best for each other, more of just allowing each other to go their own ways. Okay. And you're probably like, well, how can you encourage someone by going your separate way? Isn't that abandonment? No, it's loving in a way that frees them to go their own way. It's not abandonment. When you set healthy boundaries and you enforce it and you say, okay, these are the behaviors that I'll allow in my field. This is what I am open to experiencing with you. And if you're going to take it to a place that I'm not willing to go to, we have to part ways. I'm not mad at you. I don't hate you. I just feel like you'd be happy somewhere else. How is that hateful? How is that abandonment? I mean, isn't it more malicious to try and force someone to stay, force someone to bend to your will so that they're allowed to stay? Isn't that more malicious? Isn't attempting to control a sovereign soul something very malicious? Regardless of what your intention is, that's a very hurtful, harmful thing. That's imprisonment. You can't imprison a soul. Now, if that other soul is still staying and being combative because they don't like this, well, why the fuck are you still staying? I don't know. If you're not in alignment with the boundaries, the conditions that have been set, what did you think it's time to go? What did you think, like, okay, you know what? I don't need to argue with you and try and prove why you're not treating me in the way that I feel I deserve to be treated, because no one has to treat you in whatever way you feel. If I feel like I should be treated like a queen and y'all aren't treating me like a queen, that should be fine, because you don't need to treat me like a queen. Regardless of what I want, y'all don't need to do any of that. You can make up your own mind. You have your freedom, your right to see me however you want to see me, to act however you want to act. But does that mean I'm going to have to take it? No. Just like you don't have to do what I say, which is you need to treat me like a queen and bend your knee and grovel at my feet. I don't have to take you like sitting there like, you're not a queen. You're not a queen. Okay, well, I can be a queen somewhere else. I could be a queen somewhere else. So this is what enlightenment is. Enlightenment is not a stage of development. No, enlightenment is not a place you're heading to. Enlightenment is a stage of your development where you are allowing your truth to shine bright enough that it's illuminating what you've decided for yourself. Okay. Enlightenment is not about you having grown enough spiritually that now you can call other people out. Enlightenment is about you fully recognizing The causations, which are the decisions you've made. You have chosen this. The causations that lead to the effects that you're experiencing, the effects that you're struggling through. Every single effect that you are experiencing is first rooted in a causation chosen by you. It could have been chosen in this life. It could have been chosen in a previous life. It could have been chosen right before you entered into this life. You just don't know. So, card number 22, wisdom. It's not enough for you to have all the books, the rules, and regulations. It's not. Unless you can apply the knowledge that you've acquired over the course of your lifetime. Um, that knowledge is nothing but a stack of books, dusty books on a shelf. You have to allow yourself to begin implementing the lessons that you've learned. If every circumstance you've been in as an adult has led to people overstaying their welcome, overutilizing the things that you're sharing, being abusive to you, then why do you keep going in that cycle? What have you learned from all those times that you've experienced this type of thing? If you suddenly can't find it within yourself to apply what you've learned through your life experiences, why are you going to be mad at other people? Because you already have all the answers within yourself, no? You've already experienced all of this stuff. So what if all the other things that you've experienced in this life were little cliff notes to help guide you through what you're experiencing now, which is the actual final exam? You know, you really have to allow yourself to become a loving mirror. Card number 10, become a loving mirror. Allow yourself to choose to shift what is being reflected. If you are experiencing outside of yourself all of the self-loathing that you have had, but you don't want to admit it to yourself, why don't you allow yourself to get quiet enough so that the mirror no longer contains distortions? I mean, if you keep throwing rocks in a pond, in a lake, in a very still lake, how are you ever going to really see? How are you ever going to really, really see your reflection with clarity without distortions from the ripples that emanate from the rocks you keep throwing? So, you know, I guess that's just a poetic saying. That's a poetic way of saying, if you're too busy talking shit about how someone else is doing you wrong, you're not going to see how what they're doing is really a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So slow yourself down, stop talking so much shit, and really, really take a moment to analyze what's going on within you. Okay? Within you. Because I guarantee you, your biggest problem is not someone else. Your biggest problem is the fact that you are being shown a mirror of what is going on inside of you. That's some harsh, harsh reality right there. But all of us will experience this at some point, at one point or another. You will experience this. And if you continue to throw rocks into your own pond, how will you ever see your reflection without distortions? How will you? You won't. And this is what we have to recognize. If we're so busy talking about what other people are doing to us instead of getting real quiet and real still, and like, what is this supposed to teach me? What am I supposed to learn here? Then you're never really going to see. And if you never really see, there's a very high probability that you didn't want to. And that's no one else's fault. It's no one else's fault. Is this me saying you're a bad person? No, this is me telling you, look, you're missing the point of what your soul is trying to bring you through. And if you want to miss the point, hey, you know what? That's your choice. I'm not going to tell you that you're doing it wrong or that you have to do it this way or that way. I'm just telling you, these are some of the things that are being told to me to present as part of a message, a cohesive message from your higher self that many of us are probably ignoring, myself included. Myself included. I see myself returning to cycles of things that, what? How the hell did I get back here? Well, girl, you drove yourself. You sure as hell didn't call a spiritual Uber. You didn't just get kidnapped and dropped off. You drove your ass here. Okay, girl. Okay. See, I myself am part of this. I myself am experiencing this. Card number 18, spirals of manifestation. Everything that manifests in your life is a spiral. It comes from the spiral that emanates from you. You're the starting point. Whatever you decide, it has an effect and an after effect and an after effect and an after effect. It's like ripples. Ripples. That's it. Ripples. And you can't really blame someone else for the way your life has gone. You know, you can't keep holding over someone else's head the very things that you did to try and, create some sort of um, debt, because people do that. People are very capable of doing that. I'm going to do this good thing. And maybe as I'm doing it, it's not my intention to put you in my pocket. Maybe as I'm doing it, I really am concerned. I really want to help. I really want to help you through a certain struggle. But as soon as it's done, instead of me finding the courage to be like, look, I'm having a hard time right now. Do you think you can help me out? Do you think you can be a little more patient? Instead, you throw it in their face of like, yeah, I did this for you, and now you're ungrateful. No, no. What you did then was then. I've shown my gratitude for that. That's not a debt I have to repay. That was an energetic exchange that our souls agreed to. And although I am grateful and I will always be grateful, I'm no longer in debt to you, because for all I know, you were guided to do that for me years ago because you owe me a huge debt from a previous life. So I'm not even going to dive into that. I'm just going to assume that is a debt repaid and we're squared away. I don't owe you anything, but I will always be grateful. I will always be grateful. And I'm going to encourage you to find your courage to begin communicating instead of existing in a state of fear where you have to bring up all of these things that you've done for me, because some people are like that. It's not, I don't say it like some people are like that, like they're horrible. I'm saying some people are like that. They are existing in a state of fear and they don't know how to communicate their need. And so they are grasping for straws like, well, maybe if I bring this up, it will create some sort of sense of debt and they won't push me away. A lot of the things that people do right now is really based in fear of being alone, fear of really having to take a good hard look at the life they've created for themselves, um, fear of other people's rejections being confirmation that they're just not worthy. Everybody's worthy. Every single person is worthy. Every single person deserves love, comfort, a feeling of safety, a feeling of being accepted. And it's just really, really sad when a person, all they experience their entire life is not being enough, being rejected, being made to feel as though they're the problem. Well, that's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If that's how you consistently treat someone, if that's how they're consistently treated by, all the people that matter to them the most, what ends up happening is they believe that's all they're supposed to be and they'll live up to that. They absolutely will live up to that. But that's a choice they're making. Again, if you're not going to stop throwing the rocks, you're not going to be able to see clearly. And maybe at some point, you need to slow down and see the reason people are throwing rocks, people are having this expectation of you, is because you keep throwing rocks. If you know someone to always be a rock thrower and they have rocks in their hands, are you going to be like, oh no, they're not a rock thrower anymore? You're going to be like, oh shit, here comes the rock thrower, right? So if you keep living up to this hype of who you're supposed to be, whether it be a good person, a bad person, an evil person, a drama king or queen, whatever it is, then at what point? I mean, that's such a slippery ground. That's such a slippery ground. At what point does it go from, well, this is what you expect of me, and so this is what I've been believing is all I'm capable of, to, well, this is all I keep doing, so this is what you're going to keep expecting. It's such a slippery, very blurred line. So at some point, one of you is going to have to quiet down and be like, oh, well, I was kind of doing all of that, you know? Yeah. And then the other one, hopefully, will be like, well, I did kept telling you you were the rock thrower. You know what I mean? And that's where you reach a level of growth. That's where you can really deeply feel the mirror in front of you and understand that it's a mirror. Understand that this is so much more than what you're thinking it is, where it's just a bickering or just people being rude or whatever it is. But there's so much more to what's going on right now for everyone because of all of this struggle with, the world as it is right now, with the economy, with all these restrictions, all of these fear based um, decisions and behaviors. It's just really a tumultuous time for most people. There are some of us who are able to go through this and easy peasy, no big deal. We'll get through it. I've stacked up enough chips, no big deal. You know what I mean? But at the same time, um, even those easy peasy people, a lot of your shadow aspect is rising up. It's being presented in front of you. And you're going to have to take a good hard look at the person you are, not keep taking a good hard look at other people and how other people are failing to meet your expectations and requirements. And I mean, if you a control freak, you a control freak. Just be honest with yourself. You know what I mean? Be honest with yourself and understand sometimes that's the very thing that causes the rock thrower to throw their rocks. Okay. So that's enough lecture today. That's enough lecturing today. I'm gonna come back live with another zodiac reading that I'm being told to do before I head off. Oh, I also plan to come live later on in the afternoon to do expedited requests. I did miss coming live on Sunday in the middle of the final relocation. And so I'll come live today if you guys are waiting to get personal readings, energy work, whatever it is. I'll be making a post very soon and creating the live stream for it. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe. Turn on that. That's weird. Turn on that creation bell. What does that even mean? I don't think the message is done. Turn on that creation bell. So it's this sense of your alarms have been blaring over other people instead of creating an algorithm that will instruct the bell to only alarm when creativity is rising up. So it's about shifting your energy from just accepting disharmony to entering a very purposeful creative period where you are actively consciously cultivating the environment that you want for yourself, want in your life, your environment, your business, your friendships, relationships, whatever it is. So definitely join me later. Turn on that notification bell. Yeah, you guys, I'm out of it at this point. I will see y'all later. Bye.